Welcome, everybody. Go ahead and call the meeting to order. Take a minute to look over the minutes from our most meeting. And motion to approve.
Move approved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We're going to move on to the new business first, since we have some speakers here today and some cutting requests. And if we could move on with the Ray Card 5K race 2016 Atkins. Seems like this week. Welcome.
I would apologize in advance. Dave Lynn could not be here, so I'm not real sure how many questions, if there are any, I'll be able to answer. This is my first time with the race. Basically, it's the same as last year. I think he asked for 2,500 last year, but he went to the TDC. Because the race is in town, he asked to come to the TDA this time. The entire proceeds of any profits will be given to the museum for updates and expansion and everything that we're working on. We have already got it advertised on the museum's website. We got a grant from you for the Blue Ridge Highlander website. We're advertising on that as well. We'll be using the museum Facebook page, posters, print media, and like I pointed out in the first paragraph, this race is not part of Taste of Scotland. Doug Morton had wanted it to be, but Dave wanted to make sure that any proceeds we would get. Last year we had 155 racers. We are hoping to increase that this year through additional advertising, and we hope to increase that by 25 people. The race brings in, like I said, last year was 155 racers. It also, and 75% of those are from out of area. So they come and they stay in our hotels and motels and go to our restaurants and our shops. We can hopefully gauge the results by the number of racers we have compared to last year. Basically, that's about it.
Are you familiar with the budget that they put together?
These are figures that Dave had. Last year he had requested 2,500. I'm not sure how much he got.
Yeah.
This year he wanted to increase it by 500.
Yeah, I was noticing they've got total sources of cash. They're up to $6,000, including the money they have budgeted from the TDA. But I guess if I'm reading that right, all your expenses are totaling $1,050. Is that correct?
Yeah, they just added that, so subtracted it.
Well, I know that, but then they still have a profit of like $4,950.
They may not be in the correct order. One of the expenses is the timer, which is $750.
Yeah.
And then the advertising from the print media, and all the other things that he has mentioned on here.
It appear without even without TDA's money, it would be profitable though.
Any other questions?
I see what you say.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of a.
I'll have to get with Dave on these figures again. I see what you're saying, $4,000 or $3,000 profit,
What's the entry fee?
$25. Early entry fee is $20.
Do you know how many already have committed? Is there a number already?
So far, I have seen 3 entries so far.
There was 155 racers last year?
Yep.
Okay.
And we don't know what TDC gave. They committed to
I'm
last
sorry.
year. I'd be curious to see.
They did not
They did
last
not?
year. I sit on that board, and to my knowledge, we did not.
They made a request, but they didn't.
That's the one that's using the $20.
Right.
Any other
I
questions?
wish that I could give you information on the last year's race, how much was brought in and everything. Unfortunately, I have not found any of those records. So all I can tell you is that next time I will have records.
Did Dave organize it last year?
Yes.
Okay.
Dave has always done it.
Is he involved at all this year?
He is in charge of it, yes. Like I said, he couldn't be here, and he asked me to come and try to answer any questions, and I've done a poor job of that.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Sure.
Do y'all have any other questions? Thank you.
It's in June.
Yeah, it'll be June 20th. If they have Taste of Scotland, it'll be that Saturday.
You'd have time Dave would have time to come back and
Yes.
kind
You
of,
probably want to talk to him, I think.
yeah. I think you should just mention that to him.
I will.
Be welcome to hear. Just to talk about some of the,
When is your next meeting?
Second month, second Monday of every month.
Okay, so
Be
March.
the 9th.
Okay. I can come back. I can corner him next week when he gets back in town,
Sounds good.
and hopefully we will have your answers for you next time.
Well, I appreciate you coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you've been doing with the Scottish Tartans.
Amen. We made a lot of progress.
That you have. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to funding request for the Higbee Hop 5K. Mariette?
Okay. I won't be as articulate as he is. Dave is also helping us. This is our first year of doing this. Does everybody know what Gilliam's Hope is? Amy, these two girls are in Gilliam's Hope, and what better way to teach them to be leaders and to give them the opportunity?
I'm Amy Roberts, and me and Madison are in Gilliam's Hope, and Gilliam's Hope is a club that encourages students to be alcohol and drug-free. And we are requesting approval for grant money to help with expenses for our 5K run that will be held in March. The proceeds from the 5K run will help with scholarships for the students in the club.
Okay.
I'm Madison. Gilliam's, sorry, I've had a cold. But like she said, Gilliam's Hope is just an organization to help get kids who put a dedication into staying drug and alcohol free and offer them scholarships, hopefully. And this is why we are coming to you with hope for the grant money, because this 5K will help contribute towards these scholarships and what could hopefully become a really good one.
How are we marketing it? And we're starting it this year. How's it going to be sustainable?
Well, this year we're going to get sponsors, and I think that's going to be the last thing, right?
Hopefully.
Yes. And it's just more of like getting the word out and calling it an annual thing, and just like spreading words and getting flyers to local communities and getting dedicated runners to come back each year.
What websites?
Running USA, ActiveX.com. It's on our Facebook, our website. It will be on our Facebook and our website. Facebook is already done. Our website, we are in the midst of getting the passwords to get to that. So it's going to be on all those places. There's flyers being put out, and Dave has been doing the PR for it for the past 3 races that he's been at. And even the race he just went to this past weekend, he's already had people call and say they would like to register and that kind of thing. When I talked to him about 5 days ago, number-wise, he said there was 16 already committed. So we have those. Each of the students that are participating are going out to get sponsors. We've asked that each one of them shoot for $100 sponsor. We'll see what they bring back. Doing shirts, registrations. I think this is Dave's line that you do it real early, it's $15, or if you do it early, it's $20, and then $25 along those lines. I filled out the budget form. I used Dave's guidance. I hope you don't drew me like you do him because of answers. But like I say, this is our first time of doing this. We would like to do this every year, and it becomes something big that the kids can, that we can have a profit to supply their scholarships with.
Gilliam's Hope, is that in the high school or is it at the high school?
It started by the Cheneys up in Highlands as Gilliam's Promise, and then Bill Harrell wanted to bring it to Franklin since it was such a great program to, instill values in our students to stay alcohol and drug free, and then you get the scholarship at the end, and we all know that, if you've got kids, scholarships are great. So it was started down here 2 years ago. This is the second year that this group, we have a group, we started with 27, we're down to 21 because a couple have moved, or different things. A couple have had prior, they couldn't give the dedication to the meetings, so they withdrew. So we're down to 21 members that are there on a regular basis. Did that answer?
What's the age range then?
The ones that we have right now are in 8th grade, so they're 13 and 14. The vision of the program is to bring in a new fleet of kids every year. So next year we're looking to bring in possibly like 6th, 7th graders and 6th, 8th graders, since these guys will be 9th graders, so that, get these guys the leadership skills to be there to be a pillar for these younger ones as they are coming up, and, a face to see or somebody I can talk to guide me. And then every year after that, bring in more. The budgeting of the board will depend how many. In Highlands, they do it school-wide, or they were doing it school-wide. They're a little different, but we kind of started with one group, and we're taking flight with that group, and then going to add to it over the next few years, and hopefully it will be something that continues every year, bringing a few more kids on. Yes, before they get to high school, yes. So,
Where's the rental of the facility? What facility?
we're going to do it on the Greenway. I'm sorry. Yeah, do it on the Greenway. And then what we're going to do is, of course, you've got the things where it's going to be a morning run, so people have to come spend the night, and you have to eat, and that kind of thing. But we're hoping they'll also bring their children, because we're going to have an Easter egg hunt, which the kids are going to, they're all going to be helping. Some of them are going to run, but they're all going to be helping, and I'm sure parents will be coming in too. But the kids are going to do the Easter egg hunt for the kids before the race, and then kind of do babysitting while the parents race, so that the parents can race and feel comfortable with their kids being there. Make it a family event. We're also going to have the kids before race time do like a little handout of these are really cool attractions or whatever.
You know where your print and radio advertising is being done yet?
Well, what we have down for like print media is the flyers, and Dave's going to put it in the paper. Dave's actually handling that small component, so it's, yes, here locally, but I mean, like, there's 2 websites that I know of that are nationwide, and as soon as they went on there was people already starting to go on there and register. So I don't know, I don't know the answer. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume which one where that gets us. He might be going to advertise maybe Clayton, would be Clayton, Silva, that kind of thing, but that's on a limb. I don't know that for sure.
He does a lot of races, so.
He does, and he's very good at covering bases,
It's
so,
March 21st,
yes.
up against it.
I know. Well, the board, we were originally, we were going to do the 5K on our own. And Dave said, well, I'll meet with you in December and we'll go over this. Well, he met with me, and when I walked out of there, I thought, I'm not a drinking woman, but I could have drank. Because I was like, oh my gosh, I was so overwhelmed. So I went back to the board and I said, guys, there's no way I can have a family and a full-time job and do this the way it needs to be done for us to make a profit. And Dave, Dave said, well, you can contract with me and I can do the behind-the-scenes work and pull it together, and then you guys can step in and help and be there and all those kind of things. So that's kind of how it's kind of sneaking closer.
I think I'm speaking for myself, I think it's an admirable race and a goal for the scholarships. I think as far as tourism goes, though, it may miss the mark a little bit from our perspective.
Okay.
Maybe it's like you can have the event this year and come to us next year and say, we brought this many people from out of town.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
maybe we can go from there.
Well, and Dave showed me on his computer where, like last year, one of the races he did last year, and got funding from you guys. He said, we'll have everything on the spreadsheet to where we can pull up numbers and crunch numbers next year after we do it this year. So, I'm sure he has the numbers for the Brave Park from last year because he kind of pulled up numbers for me. So I'm sure they're there. So, and we're just getting our foot in the door, getting it off the ground. So you got to start somewhere. So
Absolutely.
We appreciate that.
So,
Anything else? Do y'all have any other questions?
thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the financial report.
What you have before you, if you want to notice, since there is some lag time just based on when the town does actually finally receive the room occupancy report. For December, you ended up receiving $5,500.33. So the net collections for this fiscal year thus far is $59,384.06 out of your budget of $118,400. And then you can note on your last disbursements, I will note on one thing, it says final payment Smoky Mountain Center. That is, there was some issues and we've had some changes in town staff to where a bill had not been paid for them from last year. But I wanted you guys to see that they did get paid for that. And that was an oversight. What we have, your remaining balance with your commitments, you still have $84,744.60. And if you'll notice on your comparison, it's actually very good. In previous Decembers, this past December has been the best on record since the fiscal year 2009-2010. I also, on the next page, I tried to break down a little bit further what you've spent as of today as far as miscellaneous and festivals and what you have remaining in your balance. I know last month you discussed a little bit about your Atlanta billboards and Pandora Radio, Facebook, and Google AdWords, which will be ramping up rather soon. So you still do have funding there. Your audit and bond has been completed for this year. So kind of just an overall summary, total budgeted was $118,400. Total spent so far has been $24,855.40, which leaves you with a remaining balance of $93,544.60. I hope that was helpful.
It was.
And if you guys are good with that, the only thing I need would be a motion to accept that report.
I need a motion. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Moving down to subcommittee reports, finance, budget. Connie, we didn't have anything. Policy, rules, and procedures.
No, except for what we're going to be discussing tonight.
Application.
Just the two that we had tonight.
Okay. Do we go on to discussion?
If you want to do C real quick, I can.
Okay.
What you have before you tonight is item C, and then we'll discuss a little bit further in item D, considering you'll excuse my absence from last month due to the flu. But what you have is your chairman, Candy Presley, is up for reappointment. Her term technically ended February of this year. As John Jr. did inform me, though, that doesn't mean that she's not been holding a seat. But Candy has expressed an interest that she would like to continue as chair. I think she's done an outstanding job the past few years. She's had a rocky road like several of us have. But I would make the motion to recommend Candy Presley before the Town Board of Aldermen as chairman for your upcoming for a 3-year term.
And what do you need from us?
Second, just
Motion, so it's a second. Then I'll second.
You sure about it?
I'll do the vote since it's my vote. All in favor?
Aye.
I will present that to the town board at their March meeting.
Okay, moving on, discussion of rules and procedures.
Thank you. Okay. I hope most of you received John Jr.'s email. He was not able to attend tonight. However, him and I, we've had some lengthy discussion the past couple of weeks about some questions I noticed came from the board at your last meeting. And again, my apologies for not being here, but I didn't think you guys wanted the flu as well. One of the questions I know that has been brought up is vacancies. The only vacancy that this board has is the vacancy that is being advertised, which is for the collection of the room occupancy tax. And if you've noted, and you can look along with me, what it means to be a membership and why this particular term is vacant. Eligibility under Article 3, Membership 3.1, eligibility in terms of office. Members of the board must be residents of, own, operate, or have an interest in a business or entity in the town of Franklin. Members shall serve 3-year terms except as provided below. And then no member may serve more than 3 current 3-year terms. So you only have one vacancy, and it would behoove the board, the one we've continued to advertise for, is to try and get someone who is in the lodging facility to apply for that position. And it's been posted for probably maybe close to 2 years by now. And it's just, that's a hard niche to fill.
We've personally asked people.
I was just going to say, is that something where maybe, get who's out there and maybe approach them individually as opposed to maybe an ad and hoping that the right person sees it?
Yeah, and we have, just based on, I've tried to look at those who do collect the tax through the town of Franklin. And like I said, this is just a hard vacancy to fill. So as far as being legal and worrying that you are not in compliance, that is a complete fabrication. That is not true. You just have one vacancy. Other questions? Did that help? Good. Okay. The other question that has came up is about absences. If you'll notice, John and I went over it as well. Under Article 3, under membership as well, 3.2, it says termination and transfer of membership. The appointing authority, which is the Town of Franklin Board of Aldermen, may remove a member at the recommendation of the majority of the TDA members. Members of the board are expected to attend all meetings of the board. Failure to attend at least 75% of the regular meetings in a calendar year or any 3 consecutive meetings shall be considered grounds for recommending removal of the member to the Board of Aldermen unless extenuating circumstances dictate otherwise. Consideration of circumstances shall be made by the board before recommending action to the Board of Aldermen. So all this board can do, again, basically, if they feel as though there's an issue with absences, the only authority this board has to do is to recommend removal to the town board. And it's ultimately the town board's deciding factor. And again, that individual or individuals could make a plea before the town board if they felt like they had circumstances that were preventing them from attending the meetings, or if they felt they were being treated unfairly. So, does that help? Okay. The other one that I noticed we had some questions about was myself. I seem to be the topic of discussion last month. Article 7, Administrative Staff, and again, I am sorry that I could not attend. 7.1 states, Manager. The Franklin Town Manager or any person that the manager may designate shall be the chief operating officer of the organization, subject to the provisions of these bylaws and the supervision and control of the chairman. It shall generally be the duties of the chief operating officer to report on behalf and at the direction of the TDA board to the Town of Franklin's Board of Aldermen, and to act as a liaison between the boards and to perform administrative functions at the direction of the chair. In the absence of a designation by the town manager under this section, the chair may assign the duties of the CEO officer to any other member. So with that being said, it was an honest mistake on Mr. Setzer's end. This was only the second meeting he had attended, but he did have the right to vote, and he was my designee that night. If you guys recall, in previous administrations under Mr. Greenwood and Mr. Cabe, they chose me as their designee. However, since I've become town manager, I've wanted to continue to serve on this board. Does that help at all? Okay. Other questions I'd be glad to address.
I don't think we had a problem with you skipping it to somebody else.
I'm sorry.
No,
Yeah.
you don't have to apologize to me. I appreciate you skipping. I think the question was about excusing absences.
Certainly. Yes, and I asked John about that, and he said with excusing absences and with the role in which I play on this board, I can't have my designee come and sit in my place. So you did not need to excuse me.
And we don't need to excuse if Matt's not going to be, hi Matt. Sorry, I picked the wrong person. If Matt's not going to be here and he calls in or doesn't call in or whatever, but if he's not going to be able to attend, then do we need to take a vote?
That's just a good protocol, and I hate that you guys there maybe feel like rules are changing. I certainly hope you guys don't feel that way, but most of you serve on various boards. That's normal protocol. I don't think that anyone should get a finger cast at them or feel, bad that they missed. But, if there seems to be a habitual pattern that's taking place, it is up to the board to decide that. However, it is the will of the board, but you should take all those into consideration. And again, I would remind you guys that ultimately you can make a recommendation, but the board doesn't have the final say to exclude someone from this board.
But should we
Is it
just
necessary
as
to
public
excuse or not excuse
Right.
absences in the first place?
John said it is necessary.
It is necessary.
Then that's part of the meeting.
Okay.
I think the question also was, what is excusable and what is not excusable?
And that is really up to the board. I mean, again, as it states in your bylaws, there are certain circumstances that should permit. I mean, we all get sick. We all have, issues that come up in our lives. And again, as was stated in the board minutes that I listened to, it is a volunteer board. And I hope that everyone does feel like they're a part of this board.
So do we need to have something in the bylaws to say what those are?
That's up to you guys. If you want to take it a step further, we can amend them further.
I don't think so, unless it's going to be an issue and
Well, see, that's the
point of
problem.
contention here. Otherwise, I don't.
Where we're coming, that it's changed since I've been on this board. And it's not you, but you've actually went deeper than most town officials have with the meetings, and we never did the absences before. So
if someone's not
clarifying
going
that
to be
makes it a
here,
lot
we
easier.
just,
Yeah, and that's no
Just
big.
the
The
person's not
town
gonna be
boards
here,
do it. It's
excuse them.
it's really just kind of Robert's Rules of Orders, if you will.
Right.
Is that clear what I'm asking?
No.
No, not even get close.
I think the point that everybody's getting at is there going to be a standard for which qualifies as an
considered
excused or unexcused absence. It's kind of like
Right.
going to school.
Well, and then if you excuse them, does that negate the fact? So say I miss 3 or 4 meetings in a row, and I have what seems to be valid excuses, and you excuse those absences. So then, does that count against my 75%?
No,
You're still
I asked
missing
John that.
75%.
So this board's excusing them. This board is the one that would make mention to the town board
Right.
to remove.
Yes.
That's
Right.
it.
That's
So
It's a
excusing
recommendation
the
that
absences
they
does
make
absolutely
responsible.
nothing.
It's just a courtesy.
formality.
Just
That's all it
formality.
is. Because you still have to attend 75%,
Right.
whether you're excused or not. Is that right?
Right.
Then what does excusing the absences do?
It just sounds good.
No, not necessarily excusing, it does sound good. An excused absent basically means that that individual had extenuating circumstances, whatever they may be, and they have informed the board, and it's to this board's decision if they think that individual truly did have an extenuating circumstance that prevented them there, or if there's a pattern that the board is concerned about. This is this board's decision to make that distinction. Now, where you get into it, if you excuse the absence, then you're basically saying, our opinion on this is that was an excusable absence. It does not count against the 75% of the meetings. Does that help?
Yeah, so if you excuse it, it does not count against you. That's what
Okay,
you're
well, that
saying.
was his question.
Yeah, that was my question.
Did that help?
No, you just said the
gave me
opposite.
two different answers.
Yeah,
Okay.
you just said the opposite.
One is the second answer.
So the
That makes sense.
75%.
Wait a minute.
They're
Otherwise, there's
excused
no
out
point
of that
voting on it regardless.
75% if they did not attend the 75%.
Right, but it is this
You're
board's
excused
decision.
just like you're here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you had a good reason.
So if you're, okay, let me just make sure this is right, because we did get two different
What's
answers.
a good reason?
So
Yeah.
if
that's
Josh, what he just said, he misses 3 or 4 meetings, and we excuse him, then he hasn't missed, it doesn't go against his 75% that he has to be here.
Correct.
Okay, so if I miss 75% of 12 is 8, 9.
No.
So if I miss 3 meetings and you excuse those, I get to miss 3 more.
And that's going to be a harder grounds where if it came to that position if you had to make your plea to your town board, they're going to say, if you had an issue with this individual board member, why did you consistently excuse their absence?
That's where it's supposed to say.
Right,
we
that
excuse
just
it.
seems complicated and unnecessary.
So do we have to, I know it's a formality, but do we have to do the excuse?
That's
If they're
what
not
I
gonna
was
be here,
saying. I was saying
just
that
not- if they're not here, they're not here.
75% is 9 meetings.
Then we have to attend.
And if we don't have issues like this, the meetings, actually it's only 5 or 6, it's 30 minutes. That's 4.5 hours a year that you're required to attend. I don't think that's, I understand that there are days where somebody forgets, you know.
Or they have
There's certain things,
other
but,
things,
you know, I don't think, see, excusing absences mean that you might as well not even have the rule. You know, my opinion is that you shouldn't excuse the absences. You should, if you're going to commit to this board, you should be able to do at least 4.5 hours a year. That was my point. It is excusing absences is kind of a wasted.
Well, I see where Summer's coming from too. Like, there's certain reasons. Connie, I'm gonna bring up Mike for
That's fine.
instance. If he's in there for surgery, he could be out for like 2 months in a row, 3 months in a row. I really think that's excused because to me, I mean, that's a life and death situation. Flu, I mean, nobody wants the flu. But I
You
mean,
only get
if we're
flu once a
skipping to
year.
go at 2
I don't
and
want another hour of absences.
I don't.
But you had somebody here in Gibson, and that's fine. And I'm the one that recommended we excuse your absence 2 months ago. I didn't know it was because you're back, but there were extenuating
Well, trust me,
circumstances.
I couldn't get up and walk.
And that's fine.
Yeah. But the thing of it is, I believe it's just called a little bit of common sense. I mean, if you're ill,
courtesy.
in this emergency, because most of us are heavily involved in the business that we work in. If you've got a family emergency, those are reasonable reasons why you can't make a meeting. If you just don't feel like coming that night, I'm sorry, but that's not a reasonable reason.
I agree. I'm very convincing.
Yeah, so it's like.
If I feel like I want to go home after work and go to bed, I'm going to tell you I probably have the flu.
You better not call out, Josh.
No, but you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the whole point. You don't. If you miss more than 3 meetings a year, that's
Yeah.
the principle behind the rule.
Yeah.
You don't need to excuse absences.
Right, I'm kind of agreeing there because
There's,
you have to attend so many meetings and after that,
It-
then at that point, the board can,
The board still
if they
does not
want to
have-
recommend.
That's what I'm
Correct.
trying to, the board still doesn't have the final.
Recommend
So-
some people.
Right, right.
Basically,
I mean, we don't need
excusing
to
absences.
excuse.
So you're saying there is no such thing?
It's
as
something that we would
Right.
send to
You're
the
not-
alderman.
You're absent or you're not.
Right. Sure. So excusing the absences negates the bylaw.
And that's why we're having this discussion.
Well,
You can't make it.
Send an email.
I'm sorry?
I sent an email, he couldn't attend today.
Basically, all it said was you can't go.
so I think we
asked.
shouldn't, and I understand like in my situation,
Between
you're right,
the
that's
last
a
meeting and this meeting.
legitimate, everybody knows that's not a legitimate excuse, but if you just say, for example, I'm not going to be able to be there, I call you and say I'm not going to be in tonight's meeting, then I missed the meeting. Well, it goes against my, I have to be here 75% of the time. I don't think that we need to formally say to excuse me, because if I decide to miss more, then at that point, if I attend 75% minimum, okay, but once I start creeping into that 75%, then the board has the option of, okay, she's not attending meetings, we can recommend,
And that's
to the town hall.
So-
your decision.
I
Well,
guess-
I
I guess
think
the
the
question is, do we-
excused and
We don't
unexcused
need-
is recording that we know that it was definitely what the matter was. Was it medical, was it this? When the town aldermen want to kick somebody off the board, at least we can say, you know what, the reason they didn't attend was a medical excuse. They were having surgery, there was flu. I mean, a lot of things could come up. I mean,
But it would never get to the board unless it came from us, correct?
right.
So that's why it's up to this board to decide what your protocol is.
So
Take
at
a
the-
roll
And
call.
trust me,
At
the
that
board
time-
will ask.
They will ask.
At
The
that
board
time,
will ask.
They will ask.
If we ever recommend
Documentation.
having somebody removed, the board will ask.
So when it comes, if the board decides Leland's being just a bad board member, he's not coming, is it a unanimous vote to go take him before the board and say, or is
Or
it
majority.
a majority?
Do you guys have your bylaws?
No.
I don't have a copy.
Online, I'll get them to you if they want to forget.
Are they
I
online?
gotta find it.
Oh, if they're online, on the town's website?
Majority, has to be a majority.
I was going to say this unanimous.
It's at the town's website. I'll go get it.
I have to find it.
I agree with the idea of not having one or
I mean, my whole point is that if you excuse the absences, it negates the bylaw. Therefore, why is
It's
that?
confusing.
But it doesn't negate the bylaws. It shouldn't.
Well,
Because the
two. I don't
bylaw
think
does.
there's not a reason. It doesn't seem like there's not a reason to really. oppose
No, I mean,
that at
you
all.
get 3 absences and you shouldn't get any.
That's what you guys need, if that's what you want, that's the.
And if it gets
That's
to the
what we
point we have
remember.
discussion about it, you ask the person what's going on.
Okay, somebody make a
Consecutive
motion.
or 3 just all together?
Don't we have to vote on that to make it happen?
Or is it not in the
No, you're
bylaws
fine.
in
This
the
is
first
just,
place?
Yeah, we're just talking about
We're
what's
just talking.
Discussion.
already
And
written
making
in.
a
Lawyer here.
decision?
I'm
You
sorry,
can make a decision.
I didn't hear.
Does Mr. Henning need to be here for us to make any kind of, I mean, as far
I
as
don't-
advice goes moving
No.
forward?
Well, we're not making any
That's
changes or anything to
No.
the bylaws or anything.
Voting on whether an absence is excused or unexcused
Yeah,
is
you're
not
not
part of the
changing the
bylaws in the
bylaws.
first place.
No,
It's still
Perfect.
75%.
well said.
So what if you don't hear from a board member and they don't show up and you don't know why? Is that an automatic unexcused absence?
We're saying,
I would think
if-
so.
Everything's
Which
on-
means
we're saying
I could have
everything,
one.
if we go with not voting on it at all, if there is no such thing as an excuse or
Just be
unexcused, you're just here or you're not.
Like Josh said, 3 to 4 hours out of the
All
year
you gotta
you could
do.
be.
You shouldn't actually, first of all, if somebody emails Candy in summer a week ahead of time, I'm gonna have surgery. That, in my mind, might be a reason to excuse somebody. But that's not gonna be.
But there's still no reason to-
Right. I could have a cold every second Monday. That's not really, but you have the flu once a year. My whole point in bringing this up is that it's in the bylaws. You get 3 excused absences. That should be it. There shouldn't, you shouldn't take it meeting about and decide who gets extra absences.
Through the whole year. 3
Yeah,
times. 3 times.
that's what I agree.
I
It's
agree
in
with
there,
that.
so you don't need an attorney to change that.
Black and white.
And if it goes past that, then if the board wants to take that a little bit further, we can. Otherwise,
You can't.
we just continue.
We don't actually have to recommend.
No, we don't. No, we don't have to, if we decide.
They can make that.
We can turn a blind eye to somebody missing 12 meetings, which I don't think is a good idea, but
That's
our
right.
choice.
That's your
Right.
choice, that's what I'm trying, yeah.
But if
Exactly, okay.
somebody keeps missing meetings and misses 12, and we've excused everyone, technically we can't do anything.
Make it-
So my recommendation is to
Leave it.
not excuse any more absences. You already get 3.
You're either here or you're not.
Yeah.
Fair enough, and that's it, I mean,
I agree.
you don't make
Well,
a difference.
That's fine.
One other quick thing to change gears real quick. I had listened back through the minutes, and another question I know that Cheryl had brought up that I wanted to address that I did talk to the attorney about as well, is she had noted that, and it is sad, that Jameson Jewelers is going out of business, but you are still working there through the end of the month, and it seems like maybe there's a till tomorrow. Well, it seems like there is maybe a light, hopefully, at the end of the tunnel. I did ask John, our attorney, that if Cheryl needed to resign from the board. He he instructed me to inform the board that she does not. Her term, if she would like to continue to stay on the board, her term will end April of this year. And technically, as he reminded me again with Candy, with her February, I hate the term expiration, but that seems to be the terminology to use. He said that there's significant case law right now that states that as long as the individual who's willing to hold that seat is expressing an interest, you do not have to hold true to if they reach their expiration point. But Cheryl, if she would like to continue to stay, the attorney is willing to back that up.
And I expressed interest in staying.
Other than that, those were the only notes that I had. Can I help in any way else?
Just a question about that seat in April. So what happens when she?
Or is there
Sorry, did I miss
requirements?
that?
There's other possibilities of the store, of me even staying at
Okay.
the store. There's nothing written in stone just yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Just right now, there's lots of stuff to do, and Mike is in chemo right now.
Sure.
So that being said, he's maybe at the store a day a month.
Gotcha.
So things are just going a little bit slower than we had thought. So, but it's possible I might stay at the store. It just depends on what happens. There's stuff on the table.
Just curious,
That's all I
because
can say.
got someone interested in the board that's doesn't fall into the lodging category. And I was wondering if, at the time, I guess you can't see in the future.
Don't know what my future is right now. I've got stuff on the table. That's all I know.
As far as this other vacancy you're trying to fill, it with one of the operators within the fields.
And all of them have been contacted. No one actually served on the board and resigned at one point, so. Unless you
Was
want to
that
build a
real?
hotel.
It has to be filled by.
It really should, just to give you the balance according to the attorney.
And can you make one more thing clear about John attending meetings, that it is a charge?
Sure, I'd be glad to. And this is by no means because it's a charge. In this case, Mr. Henning honestly could not attend. He is, as you know, he has moved his practice to Asheville, and he serves, I think he told me he had a school board meeting tonight in Watauga County. I'm not certain, don't quote me on that. But he could not attend tonight. Other than that, I really would have brought him. I would just caution you guys that yes, every time he comes, he does charge, and the town has been kind so far to try and get some of this straightened out, since we all do have very valid questions. But just keep in mind, he does charge. So
But you as the lead liaison.
I can try and work your questions through him, so the town or the TDA doesn't have to take that funding.
Okay.
That's fine.
No, that's fine.
Just out of
And he did
curiosity, what is
say-
the rate?
Has he always charged? He's always charged, even when he was here, not just when he's here.
But we were having so
Okay.
much conflict.
Yeah, we had a lot.
Change.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. And now things
Per
are.
meeting, per hour?
Minimum 300 if we ask them to all in less.
Mileage you I just want to, and he did state that he did try to get out of the other meeting that he had, and he still couldn't attend,
Did we contact him after the last meeting?
yes.
I received an email when I came back, gosh, I guess that Tuesday when I returned to work. And then I asked him again to just let the board know, so it could be stated on record that I did contact him, so. Thank you for that.
Okay, moving on to items from the board. Mr. Van Horn, I believe you had an interest in speaking.
Yeah, if you got a couple of minutes, I just wanted to give you kind of an update on what's been happening with the Franklin Appalachian Trail community.
Is it okay with everyone? You guys have
Yes.
to speak.
Should be relatively short, but I know there's some new members. It's been a while since I've addressed you, so I just wanted to kind of bring you up to date what the committee's been doing. Again, our mission is to seek the mutual benefit to the trail, the Appalachian Trail, its hikers, and the local community, which specifically, in our case, means Franklin from an economic standpoint. The committee decided really last fall that we would move forward with an Appalachian Trail celebration period as opposed to focusing on one weekend. Most of you can recall we used to have the Appalachian Trail Days, April Fool Trail Days, but we decided it would be better to spread that celebration period spread the celebration period over a larger period of time. And so we looked at the calendar, and basically, loosely, it's defined from the first day of spring until Earth Day. And I'll talk more about the events that are planned to take place this year. We've been working on our bylaws. Very interesting discussion because we're looking at that issue on our bylaws. The committee, it's been 5 years since Franklin was designated an Appalachian Trail community. So Appalachian Trail Conservancy has asked each of the now 35 designated towns at the end of the 5-year period to do what they call a partnership assessment. It's kind of gather some information, look at where we started, where we are, and where we want to be 5 years from now. So the committee has been working on that. We'll need to finish that up by the end of March. We've got, times change. We've got some new committee members. Just so that you are aware, Patty Abel is on the committee as an alderman from the town of Franklin, filling that position. Gary Shields is now on the committee as a county commissioner. The Lacey Hiker Brewing Company is now on the committee, obviously as a local business. And Friends of the Greenway is now attending our meetings on a regular basis. One of the main or major things that the Conservancy is concerned about, and that may be too strong of a word, but they are watching the potential significant increase of traffic that will occur on the Appalachian Trail, primarily because of the movie Wild that's out now, and also in anticipation of the movie based on Bill Bryson's book, A Walk in the Woods, starring Robert Redford and Nick Nolte. And it is supposed to be out in late summer. As an example, when Bill Bryson's book came out, the year after, there was a 60% increase on traffic, primarily through hikers on the Appalachian Trail, and that step up really never went down. Now talking about the AT celebration period, I mentioned loosely from the first day of spring until Earth Day. The events that are taking place, the First Baptist Church here in downtown Franklin will continue again to offer free hiker breakfast for approximately a 4-week period, starting on the 14th of March through the 11th of April, 4 weeks. The Macon County Library will continue their Walking with Spring programs. They are, in fact, adding more events. Their first event starts on the 18th of March, and the last event will be on the 24th of April. So the library's really using the trail and the arrival of spring to have a number of events focused on outdoor activities. The 28th of March, again, that's that Saturday right around April Fool Trail Day, still has several events on that weekend. Ron Hagen's Hiker Bash will take place at the Sapphire Inn. The Three Eagle Outfitter Store will be having their anniversary celebration event. Outdoor 76 will be having an event at their business focused on the community members as opposed to thru hikers. And the Nantahala Hiking Club will be providing a free lunch for thru hikers location at the Lazy Hiker Brewing Company. All that's on that weekend, 28 March. The following weekend, the 4th of April, the Nantahala Hiking Club will do what they have done for a number of years, is their Easter on the Trail event, where they go out on the trail and provide Easter goodies to the hikers along the trail. That Saturday or that weekend, Outdoor 76 will have an event at their business, but this event will now be focused on the thru hikers, as opposed to the weekend before, it was focused on the community. On the 10th and 11th of April, somewhat tentative, but with a big T, the Frogs is planning to have a tailgate market at the Big Bear Park, and working with the committee, working with them, we want to see that they tie in the Appalachian Trail somehow, and this is all these events get synergy over this celebration period. They're looking at what they call a tailgate, where people would, kind of like a garage sale, bring your stuff, sell out of the back of your vehicle, but they're also looking at a focus for a gear exchange, tying that in. And they're also looking at, and we anticipate, notwithstanding a bad hops crop season, that the Lazy Hiker Brewing Company will have a grand opening somewhere in that time period. So, and we're hoping that you all, through your connections, will promote and support these events as they come online. The committee felt that supporting as a group, supporting in the synergy of one event helping the other event, what I typically refer to as homegrown events. These local businesses or entities doing their own thing, but we're there to help give them a common theme and tie them all together. Now, the committee will approach the Main Street program and ask them, through their connections, what has occurred over the past couple of years is that the downtown merchants, for a couple of week period, decorate their windows with a hiking outdoor theme. And that's been very positive. That's happened the past 2 years. So, the committee wants to approach them. We're all in this lifeboat together, and we want it all to ride. So that's what we've got going on. Any questions?
Those events need to be on Discover Franklin, TDA's website.
I can contact them and we'll get them on.
Okay. That's why, as the committee looking to benefit the local area, we're looking for the TDC and the TDA and the Main Street program, the chamber, all those folks, to use whatever you have available to help us publicize and get the word out. I think that one thing that the town can capitalize on, and I've talked to the TDC about this in the chamber, is the idea of those hikers to come to Franklin after they've been out on the trail 7 to 10 days and spend a couple of days in Franklin. So there's a possibility of some sort of a package that accommodation facilities, could put together or something like that. So, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other items?
I have one more question about bylaws. Does the chair vote?
If it's a tie.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks.
Any more items from the board? Announcements, the next regular scheduled TDA meeting is Monday, March 9th, 5:30. Same place, same time. And if you can have a motion, make a motion.
Second.
God, everybody jumps at her. Go, go, go.
All right, anybody opposed? Thank you guys for coming. How are you, sir?
You take a good seat then.